Another one of these Sharks prospects ready to make the jump.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network, we cover your team every day. If you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow along wherever you get podcasts, or you can watch on YouTube as well. And today we're going to be talking about Igor Chernyshov, as his season with Saginaw is now done. And if he can help a Barracuda team that desperately needs some talent infusion right now. We'll also break down the Sharks' 5-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken on Saturday night. Why mistakes, just every mistake ended up in the back of the net. And then, of course, Sharks' top goalie prospect, Askarov, made his return for the Barracuda. We'll get caught up on the Barracuda's weekend. So let's start with Igor Chernyshov, who did finish his season with the Saginaw Spirit as they lost on Saturday night in a 6-3 loss to the Erie Otters. Erie moving on to play London, so we'll be able to continue to watch Erie and hopefully, fingers crossed, Matthew Schaefer making his return here soon. It'd be really fun to have Dickinson Schaefer matchups. But that final game, Michael Misa didn't play. Like, Saginaw was just kind of running out of steam and running out of gas as they were just running out of bodies, right? But Igor Chernyshov in that game did have a really nice goal in the power play and played a ton in that game, was all over the ice. At one point, they were Saginaw was down to 9 forwards at one point in this game. They got a couple of bodies back, but it was very much like this team was running out of gas. So with Chernyshov, who already has signed his ELC, he is now free to play AHL games. We're still, as I'm recording this, at about 3 p.m. on Sunday. We're still waiting to hear from what the news is with both Chernyshov and Quentin Musty, but the expectation is that they're both going to be playing with the Barracuda here. Barracuda don't play again until Wednesday. They're on the road. They play in Coachella Valley. And then this weekend, they're back at home where they play the Ontario Reign. We'll get to the Barracuda a little bit more, but these are big games for the Barracuda as they look to lock up their first playoff spot in years, and a team that desperately needs some offensive production and some more offensive skills. So with Chernyshov, right? What is the expectation? I think that's a really big question of kind of what to realistically expect from him, right? This is a guy who has played professional hockey before in the KHL. He's played about 30 games in his draft year in the KHL and was very productive in that time. Granted, playing bottom 6 minutes for Dynamo, but also scored. Like, he had some offensive production that time, but and again, a guy who has put up 2.4 whatever points per game in the OHL in 33 games, and had a solid playoffs. There was definitely some ups and downs there, and I think Saginaw was just ran out of bodies at some point against a just better Erie team right now, who's still going to be getting their best player back at some point. But I do think for Chernyshov, like, he can help the San Jose Barracuda right now, a team that desperately needs some more just top end talent. So where Chernyshov can really help, especially if he's playing in the top 6, is I think he can be that kind of glue guy right now, for a line glue guy for whatever you need him to do, right? If you need him to be a scorer, if you need to be a facilitator, if you need him to be the F1 forechecking, Chernyshov has all those skills and has displayed all those skills, whether it's, again, playing on a bottom 6 as a details-oriented guy in the KHL, scoring a ton, assisting a ton, helping to facilitate on the power play. Chernyshov has done all that stuff right now. And yes, it's going to be a jump from going from the OHL to the AHL. But again, it's not like Chernyshov hasn't played professional hockey at some point. So I do expect him to come in and make an immediate impact for the Barracuda, a team that, again, I think is very talented when fully healthy, but right now is, they've been gutting through and getting some points here because with the bodies that they have, but a team that is missing a lot of pieces, right? You think Andrew Podorowski, the AHL's leading scorer, right? You look at the defensive core of, you have Jack Thompson, Jimmy Schultz, Luke, or they have Luca Cagnoni right now, Lucas Carlson. Like, they have a lot of these guys who are top, their whole basically top four defense is up with the Sharks, or in the case of Shakir Mukhamadullin, is hurt now. And is it kind of, with Mukhamadullin, we're supposed to find out more on Monday. I would be surprised if he plays games again this year, unless the Barracuda go on a extremely deep run. But to be honest, I think Mukhamadulin's season is over. Max Miller said he saw him in a sling after the game the other night. I just sling right now, and just the timeline, it just doesn't make sense to try to kind of rush Mukhamadullin back, especially a guy who you expect to be a quality piece for the Sharks going forward. In a lot, like, it's not worth further injury to Mukhamadullin. Like, let him get healthy this offseason. So I do think, though, Chernyshov, right, should be a potential top 6 piece for the Barracuda, even when a guy like Podorowski gets back. And then maybe when you start to get reinforcements after the Sharks season's over, you can kind of juggle things a little bit more. You expect to get Colin Graf back. But still, it's not like there's a ton of forwards on the Sharks right now that you're expecting to make an impact on the Barracuda, right? And I do think Chernyshov should be a top 6 forward for the Barracuda going forward. And if you have Chernyshov and Musty and Beasted on the line, or if you want to put Graf and Podorowski and Chernyshov together, or whatever you want to do, like, and then you have Gushin in there as well. Like, there's a lot of pieces that the Sharks can work with. Or if you want to put Chernyshov on the third line with a guy like maybe Colin White, who can kind of do a little bit extra everything, and then maybe a guy like Pavel Regenda, who's got a nice scoring touch to him as well. Like, there's a lot of options. Like, the Barracuda are ready to be have a lot of options of what they want to do here as they hopefully start to get some of these pieces back to make a playoff run. But Chernyshov, right, playing on there, I think whatever you need him to do, I think he can kind of be that ultimate glue guy. I think he should also help the power play, which, again, is the best power play in the AHL right now. They got another power play goal on Saturday. Like, this I think they're at 13 out of the last 14 games with power play goals. And even with Podorowski missing this, they've still been able to execute on the power play at a high rate. And having Chernyshov, who can just give you another option when it comes to those backdoor plays, which he's very, very good at. And then if you have a guy like Beasted up front, or Regenda, or Colin White, or whoever you want to put in front, those kind of big net front presence guys, we've seen Beasted, or we've seen Chernyshov be able to execute those very well with Michael Misa, and then having Cagnoni running. Like, Chernyshov should make an immediate impact, and I think also help out on the defense as well, just because with the details in his game. So, but again, we don't know on Chernyshov. We don't know on Musty when they're going to be there. I would expect Monday, right? Assuming they played Saturday, I'm assuming they flew back to San Jose, especially their next game's not till Wednesday, and it's in Coachella. It's not like a very far trip. Probably the day off on Sunday. I would expect Monday to be a practice, so maybe we will know. Could be one of those things where they're literally on their way right now, and then Monday they kind of just like they're here type of scenarios, but we probably won't know until Monday afternoon, maybe Monday late morning, Monday afternoon, that we kind of what the status on Chernyshov and Quentin Musty are. So, and then there is also Colton Roberts, the defenseman that was picked last year's draft. His season with the Vancouver Giants is over. It'll be interesting to see what the Sharks do there. They could potentially sign him to an ATO where he can come in and help out play with the Barracuda for a little bit before they have to actually sign him to his ELC. So, and this is a team that played 6 rookies all weekend on the blue line. So what's another rookie going to do? So we'll keep track of course, we have Chernyshov and Musty Watch going on. So as soon as we know more, we'll discuss more here on the podcast. But I do think Chernyshov and Musty, both these guys are going to be adding some big offensive talent that this Barracuda team desperately needs right now. We'll talk more about the Barracuda here at the end of the show when we talk about Askarov and his return and how the Barracuda, again, gritty performances from the Barracuda this weekend. So, but we're going to be talking about the Sharks as they lose 5-1 to the Kraken. We'll get to that here in just 1 second. You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your posts at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If you've ever been in the situation where you need to hire, like yesterday, the pressure's on. Every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. All right, before we continue, we talk about the Sharks 5-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken. Do, of course, want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Sharks your first listen. Do you have any perfect time to subscribe as we continue to get you ready for a very exciting offseason? Of course, with the Sharks basically locking up a top 4 pick now. Gonna have a great pick in the draft. $40 million to spend. We'll get you ready with free agent deep dives, draft profiles. We'll, of course, go through the wreckage that was the 2024-2025 season. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. Sharks, Kraken. And my big takeaway from this game was anything that could go wrong for the Sharks went fatally wrong, right? Because I think the Sharks, especially the first period or so, played pretty well, right? They were more shot attempts than the Kraken. They were kind of generally controlling pace of play, more high danger chances, like the scoring, like everything favored the Sharks in the first period. But any little mistake ended up in the back of the Kraken, or in the back of the net there. And that's, and I think after, once it kind of got to, it was 2-0, then 2-1. And then the Kraken scored to make it 3-1. And it felt like that was kind of the tipping point, and the Sharks just weren't able to kind of do anything like from there. And the Kraken very much were just like, everyone was just like, let's just park the bus in the third period and get out of here, until there was a fight at the very end. William Eklund getting into a fight with 30 seconds left. Congrats on your first NHL fight. So, AHL fight, NHL fight for William Eklund. Noted goon William Eklund with his fights. But yeah, this just felt like one of those games where you just, again, anything that could go wrong just went catastrophically wrong for the Sharks. And if you played this game 10 times, I have a feeling you probably saw a much closer game, where maybe the Sharks get a couple bounces here, and maybe Mario Ferrar's stick doesn't explode, or Henry Thrun doesn't get his pocket picked, or whatever it is. Like, there's just so many different opportunities there. But I do think, though, like you saw, where this game was one of those games where you saw where the Sharks just really need to revamp their bottom 6, because the Kraken's bottom 6 ate them alive throughout the entire game. And if you watch my preview that I do on YouTube, where it's, again, we talk 8 to 10 minutes kind of talking about the game in front of us, I mentioned that bottom 6 and how I was worried that I thought that the Kraken's bottom 6 was going to take over this game. And guess what? The Kraken's bottom six definitely took over this game, right? The Jared McCann, Shane Wright, Andrew Burakovsky line, they were outstanding in this game. They had 10-2 shot attempts, 4-1 actual shots, scored 2 goals. Just anytime they were on the ice, they were feasting on whatever the Sharks put out there. And I think that's the big difference in this game, was that top end, like the top end, I think both the top 6 from the Sharks and the top 6 from the Kraken, it was a pretty even matchup there. And Will Smith got a goal there, one getting to the net, but it's that bottom 6, and I think that's where Mike Grier is going to have to really look at this team this offseason and try to figure out how to improve this bottom 6. That way your top 6 isn't, they're just not asked to do everything, right? And then especially in a game like this where the Sharks, like with the Kraken, once they started kind of getting rolling, they could rely on this bottom 6 to kind of go a little bit more and play a little bit more and take a little bit off from your top 6 there. So yeah, it's one of those games where, yes, there was some very bad luck for the Sharks, but also like the Kraken also earned a lot of it as well too. So some of the same, like, we're not going to do the full kind of numbers and everything from this game and stuff, but I do want to kind of shout out the Eklund-Wennberg-Graf line, which continued to play well. They had 11-33 at 5-on-5, 13-6 shot attempts, 5-3 actual shots, 4-2 scoring chances, 2-0 high. Like, that line did perform really well as well. And the Smith-Celebrini Toffoli line played about 11 minutes, 12-13 shot attempts, but 7-4 actual shots. Had a goal, gave up a goal, 0.84 expected goals for, 0.73 expected goals allowed, 7-7 scoring chances, and 3-3. Like, that line is going to be a high event line, as you would kind of expect, especially with the sleepover line with Smith and Celebrini. Like, they're going to give up shot attempts, but they're going to just generate. You just hope that they continue to just generate as much offense as they have. So, like, you are seeing positive things from the top 6. And I do wonder if we see, as well as Graf has been playing, wonder if Lund maybe gets a longer look with Wennberg, because Graf, I think, the details in his game, his defense. I think he can kind of survive on a line with, some of the other, like with the Dellandrea and stuff a little bit more. And I think Lund, putting him on with a better center like Wennberg and a better playmaker like Eklund, you might be able to see him to pop off a little bit more here. So it does also sound like Romanov is going to start on Monday. We'll have a preview for Monday's game against Calgary, but I do think Romanov played pretty well in that second half of that game there when he came in, and I do like to see him, like I've talked about before, but he just battles, man. Like, it's not always pretty, but it's really gritty and like gutsy, and he's gonna stay in there. And there's a good article that Shang Peng had about how he kind of played through last season with an injury, and like was, like he had a bit of an injury earlier this year, and it was like, I can't do that again, and like made sure to kind of take care of it. But he's been, like he has been playing well, despite, especially, you bring in the circumstances around him. And I still think Romanov, if him and Gabe Carrier are your goalies in the AHL, and maybe you go get another Aaron Dell veteran type of guy, like, I feel really comfortable with that, with the AHL. And if you need to bring Romanov to play a couple games, I don't think you're going to be in the worst situation. So, especially if they do go out and get like if they go out and get like a really solid AHL veteran goalie, then you have Romanov and Carrier as your like you could be talking about a really nice pipeline for the Sharks goaltending. Yes, they're gonna have to find a backup goalie for Askarov, but like goalies, there's the goalie carousel every year is crazy. Like, there's always goalies available. The Sharks could trade for one. Like, they have a bajillion cap picks, like, and goalies don't cost that much, to be honest, pick wise, right? Remember, Blackwood was a 6th round pick, and yeah, do I think the Sharks are going to get another Blackwood? Probably not. But again, I kind of trust the Sharks goaltend. It's something weird to think about is how much do you trust the Sharks goaltending coaching staff and to kind of get the best out of them? You think about even 3 years ago where it felt like goaltenders came here to die. Now look at what happens when Thomas Spears gets his hand on some of these goaltenders and look at how they turn around. So I trust them. So, but that's again conversation for a different day. We'll dig into that. But the big takeaway from this game was just costly errors. Just Sharks couldn't overcome. So we're getting there. We're getting to the end here, guys. A couple more games. So we're going to talk though about Yaroslav Askarov. Speaking of goaltenders, how he looked in his return and the Barracuda with a pretty gutsy weekend. So we'll get to that here in just 1 second. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, or if you're like me, just trying to buy snacks for your kids? It's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use Locked On NHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off for your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code Locked On NHL for half off your first year. All right, before we finish up, of course, when you guys are making Locked On Sharks your first listen. When you're done with this episode, you should go check out one of our other great shows here at the Locked On Network. We have a new Locked On NHL game night. Every game, every night, they'll be talking about what's happening. They're going to do that up until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on the Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, Sharks or Barracuda. Askarov. Let's start with that because, of course, that's the biggest news out of the weekend for the Barracuda. Askarov made his return. He hadn't played since it was almost 2 months that he left the game with an injury. He was kind of a late scratch on Wednesday. He was the backup on Friday where Aaron Dell started, and then he finally made his first start. And Askarov looked like Askarov again, which is something we're kind of holding your breath to see how he would return. So if you rewind, remember when Askarov was with the Sharks, he got sick, missed a couple starts, came back, didn't look like himself, goes down to the Barracuda, gets hurt, and then is promptly kind of put on the shelf. So good to see Askarov, who, again, hasn't played in almost 2 months, look like Yaroslav Askarov again. And he gave up 2 goals. Both of them, not really too much he could do. One of them was just a very nice pass, like a power, or it was a delayed penalty. So it was kind of that power play type of situation, and just a beautiful pass through like 3 guys' sticks that led to a goal. But it was good to see him kind of out there playing the puck, just being Askarov-like and kind of that calming factor for the Barracuda. I do think with one, the Shark season kind of being what it is, and 2, with the Barracuda really needing like every point possible. I think their magic number is down to 5 right now of kind of points that they need to secure a playoff spot, but they're still in a really good chance to potentially get like right now they are the 6th seed. As I'm looking at it right now, they're the 6th seed, and they play the Wranglers. Lost today, which is big for us because the Wranglers are the 5th seed. Barracuda do have an extra game. So they have 5 games left. The Wranglers have 4, and maybe it's probably going to be pretty hard to catch Coachella, who's 4 points ahead, but there is a game against Coachella on Wednesday. But if the Barracuda can kind of like, they're probably playing the Wrangler. They're either playing the Firebirds or they're playing the Canucks in the playoffs. And between the two, I'd rather play the Firebirds, as weird as it sounds, because the Barracuda kind of have the Firebirds number this season. And like, I think also not having to travel up to Abbotsford makes it a little bit easier. Like, I would rather play, that's who I'd rather play between the two teams, is I'd rather play Coachella this season than Abbotsford. So, but good to see Askarov back. Big kind of gutty weekend, and they split the weekend with Colorado, who's number one in the Pacific, where they won Friday night. They scored a bunch of goals in the third period. I think they scored 4 goals in the third period there. But it was a gutty performance, even on Sunday or Saturday, where they lost 3-1. Colorado got an empty netter to make it 3-1. But this team just didn't go away, right? And you've seen this Barracuda team kind of things snowball on them, and especially with how when they start to kind of get a bunch, like you look at a couple weeks ago when they played Abbotsford, right? And they didn't have any defensemen, and it just, the whole weekend snowballed them. I thought their response this weekend was great, right? You're playing Dell. Carrier was kind of up with the Sharks. He's now back with the Barracuda. You don't know what you're getting with Askarov. You have 6 rookie defensemen all playing, and the team got it out, and they got 2 points out of 4, which you'll take that against the best team in the division right now. And you were close the other one, and they generated offense, but they just couldn't get those quality chances, I think, on Sunday. And that's where that on Saturday night, I think that's where that lack of just one, like a guy like Andrew Podorowski and some of these other top end talent, maybe getting a Chernyshov and maybe getting a Musty will really help with that. Phil Beestead did return. He hadn't played in 18 games. And I thought he looked pretty good as well. He got a goal and assist on Friday. Having Beestead back on the penalty kill is going to be huge. Especially with him and Ethan Cardwell, every time those guys are on the penalty kill together, I swear they always create a shorthanded chance. Patrick Giles, who the Sharks acquired in the Vita Vanacek trade, he looks like he's going to be a huge piece for this team. He looked great on the penalty kill. He had a shorthanded goal on Friday's game, and I think he's going to be added some juice to this team as well. I got to shout out Axel Landon, who was the, I think, 5th round pick in the 2023 draft. Been playing over in Sweden. Was playing, where was he? He's playing in the Hockey Allsvenskan. Signs an ATO to come over here and play, kind of get a taste of it, and he did not look out of place. Like he was playing with Jake Furlong, so that's was kind of your shutdown defensive group. And I thought those two guys played really well together. And Landon that's kind of the first extended look I've gotten at Landon. Physical, shutdown, rugged type of defenseman. If that's your jam, Landon, you're really going to like Axel Landon, especially with that name, like Axel Landon. That just sounds like a dude you don't want to mess with. So I thought he played really well too. And if he can, maybe add some stability to this Barracuda team, I don't know if he fits in when you start to kind of get some other guys back, but if Furlong goes down, like Axel Landon kind of sliding into the Furlong role, that's fine with me. But yeah, I'm really impressed with a short-handed Barracuda team. The way they played this weekend, good to see Scott Sabrin get on the board, kind of get that monkey off his back, who he hadn't scored in a while. Gets 2 goals this weekend. He gets that Gordie Howe hat trick on Friday. But I really like this Barracuda team, especially when they start to get some pieces back. And if you add Chernyshov and Musty, I really like the way this Barracuda team and the way they play. I think their power play is very good. And I think the penalty kill has a chance to kind of make a big jump here, especially with some of the pieces that they're getting back, right? You look at the penalty kill really fell apart after Beestead left. Beestead's a huge part of their PK. I think with him back, and I think if Patrick Giles can continue to play well, I do think this PK has a chance to kind of get back into shape. And also, Yaroslav Askarov, right? There's a reason why the Sharks went out and traded a first-round pick and a first-round prospect for him because he's good. And I think he's going to help to just stabilize things back there. So, yeah, we'll take it. So, big week for the Barracuda, right? You play Coachella on Wednesday, and then you play the Reign this weekend. I think you got to take 4 out of 6 points there. If you can get 4 out of 6 points, I think you're feeling really good about where you're at, and you basically almost locked up a playoff spot there. So, but yeah, that's going to be it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, of course. YouTube preview of the Flame Sharks game that'll go up around 2 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube only. And then, of course, we'll have a breakdown of the Sharks Flames game Monday night. And if we have any musty Chernyshov news or whatever else, we'll react to that as well. So make sure you're following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Locked On Sharks. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. Till tomorrow. Bye, friends.